Okay, so this is Will, and once again we're going to do the 4th installment of the Wonderware for the HMI. And what we're going to do is now I also have the lab or the webcam set up to look at our control panel over here. And what we're going to do, before we had these lights that we were just cycling them back and forth, but what we're going to do is we're going to put in visual for a stack light, and this one was the first timer. We'll make that the green light, make this yellow, and when we get to the end of the cycle we'll get the red light, and we'll leave pretty much everything the same. So first thing, I'm going to move this guy out of the way, and then I'm going to move these guys out of the way. And if we go into our graphics and we go into the symbols, now here into the indicators, we can grab some of these stack lights. Not quite sure what the deal is with this guy, but I'm going to just pick him. I'm going to put him in here, and it comes in really big, of course. And we'll right-click Properties. We'll get rid of that link, so we can now change the size. So we can go in there and we can get them more moderate size. And what we're going to do is we're going to link up this, and right here this is T1 timing. So T1 timing will be for the green, T2 timing will be for the yellow, and end of cycle will be for the red. So if we go in here, and our green light we said is going to be T1 timing, our yellow tag is T2 timing, and the red tag is the end of cycle. So, and one thing I've noticed on some of these indicators is they don't always stick. So let's take a look. Okay, so that has that. Okay, we should be good. Now, I have no need for these guys, so I'm going to delete them. But I want to put another indicator up here so we can look at the actual time. So, we'll go back into the graphics, and we'll go back into the system symbols, and there are lots of system symbols you can put in here. You just need to take your pick, and you can do everything. They have meters if you want gauges and things like that, but we still want to be in the indicators. And I think, well, let's go with this guy, and we'll just pop him in here. Now he comes in really large, and that's larger than we want. And generally speaking, they always come in large. You could see the stack light, even that came in really large. But for these indicators, what you have to do is you have to right-click and say, I want to edit this symbol, and then it goes to a separate page. Now you can click on it for properties, and if you go into caption and go into fonts, now here's our problem. It's saying it's got size 16 font or 6D font. We probably want to trim that down to maybe 16. I was getting a little ahead of myself there. So if we'll put that, let's see, 16, and we're okay. We're okay here. And you can see now everything has gotten shrunk down a lot smaller. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to resize the whole thing for how big I really want it to display on my screen. And a rule of thumb that I just do is if I can read format, that is probably about the right size that I want, maybe even a little narrower. So I think that's about the size I want. So as with everything else, if you X out to close, it'll say, do you want to save it? Yeah, I want to save it. And don't worry about that. And then it puts it on my screen. And that is pretty much what I want. And I'm going to copy them over here. So we've got one for T1, and we've got one for T2. And these will be the actual numbers as they're counting down. So let's take a look in the PLC program. What we need, we have counter 1, or timer 1 and timer 2. The current value is actually in TD1. So if we look at, so if we highlight T1 and we go into the address picker, right now it's listed in T1, and we have the X, the Y's. The T is the actual timer. What we need to do is we need to go down to TD1, and if we do that, and I might as well put this, well, TD1, if we look at the Modbus address, and we want to display that, so it's 445057. So really, what we're going to do, again, we're going to have a 4X prefix, and the actual address is going to be 45057 and 058. That's what's going to be in the Wonderware address. So what we need to do is go into our communications and go into our main driver, and what I want to add here is I want to add a T1, let's see, current, and it'll say it doesn't exist. Do you want to create it? And you can create these on the screen. You can create them in here. If they don't exist, you still get the same setup. So here, it is actually an integer, so we're okay. So I'm going to do the same thing for T2 underscore current, and that'll be okay, and we're going to create an integer again. Okay, so now let's go over here. Well, let's try to highlight 2 of these guys, copy them, paste them down here, and now remember what we want here is we want a 4X, and then we said it was going to be 45057, and that'll be for timer 1, and I'm going to just copy that and paste that there and just change that to an 8, and I think we should be good. Those are the only tags that we're adding right now. So yep, we're going to save it. So now this is going to actually have the actual count. Now we've only added that in the driver sheet. We also need to add that into here. So here, for the tag name, we need to get, and right here, okay, this is all our tags. So we want T1 current, and we want to change the decimals to 0. Over here, we're going to change this to T2 current, and you can see all the booleans are just little step for 1 0, and the integers kind of look like I don't know, a staircase climbing up and down. One of the things you can also do is if you go in here, well, you can segregate them from whether they want to be, you can look at booleans separate from integers. I just happen to be looking at them all. So we have the right stuff for that. I think we're ready to go. So oh, and so I want to be controlling these lights too. So what I need to do, these are actual Y outputs. So what I have is I have my T1 timing, and I'm going to have to add some rungs here. So I'll add rung after, and add rung after. So the first one I'm going to say when T1 is timing. So it's a normally open contact, and that'll be C6. And we're going to use that to turn on our green lamp, which that'll be a Y bit, which is outputs, and the green is 003. So we're good with that. What I'm going to do here, I think I'll just, it doesn't really make a difference, it's such simple logic, but I can copy and paste, and I'm going to change that to C7. And our amber was 002. And for the last one, all I need is the end of cycle, which is CT1. So it's going to be CT1, and my output coil is going to be Y001, and we can pull it up just to make sure. The red lamp is 001. Oh, and let me just show you. I'm going to delete that. If we pull this up and we look at this, you can also see if it is used in your program. So right now, we don't, even though we had it in there just from, other programs we have, we can see that at this point right now it's not used. As soon as I select it, it'll become used. So you can, if you're having any question of whether it's active or not, you can kind of look into the address picker. So we should be good to go. So I am going to download write project into PLC. And what we'll do is we'll show the operation through the HMI. When it goes to the end of the cycle, then we'll just do the same thing over here at our buttons, and it should operate the same way either way. So transfer complete, we go and run. Now, right now, the red light is on, and the red light is on because it ended up at the end of cycle, and we've seen that before. And when we go into run, it's going to show end of cycle, and we'll have the blinky light here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit reset, and then we should start counting out. Now here you can see we didn't change those to 0, 0. So right now our system's off, but we still the counter needs to be reset. So we reset it and everything goes off. Now when we hit start, this will turn on, this will go to system on, and then we'll see this counts up to 6, this counts up to 4. We go through 6 cycles, and then we get the end of cycle. And you can see how we're monitoring on here with the yellow lamp. And you'll notice that this is the PLC hardware, and this is software. So there is a little delay that you can see between what happens with hardware and what happens on the Wonderware screen. And that's true with all software is never real time. So that's part of the bargain, I guess. So putting these visualizations is pretty nice, but now you've also got, you can see values, and that's helpful a lot of times. It really helps you with figuring out what's going on. So we reached the end of the cycle, we're right up there, we're okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over to my panel over here and hit reset on the actual control panel. And for a second I'm just going to go off here, and if we look at the PLC program, we've got the start from HMI and the system, and the stops together, so we can control from either way. So let's put it in run mode. We'll reset from the control panel here, and you can see everything happens from the control panel the same way. If I want to stop it, I can just stop the process. Now I have to reset the way the program is set up, but when I reset it goes back to 0. I'll hit start, and then this will be more like where we started up. So everything is off at this point, everything's at 0. When I hit start, it'll start up. So this will go through the same sequence. It's going to operate the same way. Now, there's one thing, and it's a pretty good troubleshooting technique. You can also put, for any signal, and this is just a Boolean signal, but I'm going to copy this down here. Now, I'm going to keep it as is, but I'm going to put a data text link. And I'm going to put a link to our end of cycle. And that automatically adds these little pound signs on the end. Now we can go back here, because it's just a Boolean, we only need really, well, we can put 2 of them, it doesn't matter. But now when I run this, this is going to show me whether it's actually a 1 or a 0. So it's saying it's not active. And a lot of times, like if your program isn't working quite right and you're not sure about if this end of cycle is doing what you think, you can just put that in there and it'll tell you that it's a 0, and you can see it flashed 1. That's a really great troubleshooting technique for when your program isn't working, and it's especially helpful. You know, right now we have the Wonderware kind of occupies the whole screen, and if we want to find out what's going on in our PLC, you know, we kind of got to exit out of here, and then we got to go into our PLC, and again, you can't see it real time, but if you put that in there, you know, that, except for the little lag in the software delay, you know, that shows you exactly what that signal is doing. It's really handy. I use it on all the programs, and so that's kind of putting a little more visualization in here. Now, next time out, what we're going to do is we have this set as 6 and this is set at 4. Next time out, we're going to be able to configure these to whatever we want, and we'll probably, you know, here we have this cycle count that counts up to 6, but we can configure it. So in this one, in this lecture, we kind of see just putting them up there and visualizing them. But now we're going to show how we can configure those to what we want. So, you know, maybe we want the green light to be on for 2 seconds and the yellow light to be on for 10 seconds, or whatever we decide to do. And at this point, you know, it's whatever you want to do with your imagination. The Wonderware can pretty much accommodate it. So we'll see you next time.